Hi guys, welcome back to another tutorial. So we're going to be making this beautiful top in this video. If that's what you want to see, then come along with me and let's head straight to the tutorial. Firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice. If you haven't seen how I drafted basic bodice pattern, you want to go check in my channel. So I want to get the depth of my neckline, which I'll be using 6.5. I don't want to show any cleavage, just as you can see in the video. So starting from the very point of my neckline, I'll be connecting this line like a V-neck to meet that 6.5 neckline, and I'll be using my scissors to take that out. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet for more beautiful tutorials coming up. Thanks for doing that. Let's head straight and continue in this video. So for the sleeve part, as you can see, this is actually a sleeveless top, but not really that kind of sleeveless. The sleeve is a kind of, there is a little sleeve attached to it. So I'll be going on to draw 1.5 inches to join to my shoulder and curve like so to meet my neckline, okay? Just so I get that exact look of the sleeveless. And I haven't done that, I'll be using my scissors to take out the excess part of the paper, and I'll be having something that looks like this. And I haven't done that now, I'll go ahead from my waistline, I used 5 inches, and that is the length of this top. You also want to do that because it's going to come out very nice. You don't want it to be so long. I had to attach an additional paper to the front part just so we get that collar, I don't know what to call it, just that very part of the front that laps onto the bodies, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. I've cut a different color of paper and I'm taping it down with my tape just so we can get the accurate design. And I'm also going ahead to rule out that very point where my V-neck stopped. And you know, there is a part of this collar that looks like a roll collar, like the one we see in the shirt and also in a blazer. So I'm going to be using 1/2 inch to mark out that roll collar. That is why I'm using the brown paper. Okay, I'm using 1/2 inch to mark out that roll collar. Just do exactly what you see me do when you're making yours, okay? So I've gone ahead to mark 1/2 inch of this like so, starting from the very point where my V neckline stops. And I'll be adding another paper, using my tape also to hold it down. I'll also go ahead to mark out the same 1/2 inch from where my V neckline stopped all the way down to the hem of this very particular top. Please subscribe to this channel and like this video, share, comment, share this video to other platforms where you know it to be very much needed. Thanks for doing that. So I'm going ahead now to mark 1/2 inch all the way down. Like so. And I'll using my ruler to connect all the dotted lines that I made. Having done that now, I'll be using my scissors to take out the excess part of the fabric where I will not be needing. So this is what we're having for now. And this very part is where I'm going to be joining to my back neckline. So like you do in your shirts, in your collar, in your lapel, stuff like that. So I'm going to be measuring the length. I'm going to be measuring my back neckline like so. And I got 2.9 inches. So I'll be adding 0.2 inches to this, making 3.1 inches. And I'll go ahead to mark 3.1 inches like so. I'll use my ruler to connect this down. And I also go ahead to extend the 1/2 inch to that 3.1 inch line, okay? I'll go ahead to extend the 1/2 inch to that 3.1 inch line, as you can see me doing now. So I'm going ahead now to extend it like so. And I'm going in with my scissors to take off every remaining. And this is what we're having like so. This is the roll collar, the part that goes inside. I don't know if you understand. This is the rope collar. But just as we continue, you understand better. Now for the main collar, that part that shows on the bodies, the main part that laps on the bodies, I'm going ahead to mark out 1.5 inches all the way on top of my bodice, like so. I'm going ahead to mark 1.5 inches on top of my bodice, like so, all the way. Whenever you see me mark on top of my bodies, most times we are going to be tracing out. So without telling you, you should know that we are going to be tracing out that 1.5 inch. We're going to be tracing out the whole of the 1.5 inches. Okay, we're going to have to be tracing down the whole of the 1.5 inches like so. So I'm going in with another kind of paper to trace this out. And as I'm tracing this out, I found out that the down part of my body, that is where my neckline stops, is supposed to be straight, but it's slanty and it's really going to affect my design when I'm done sewing. So I went ahead to redo this very particular part. I'm sorry about that, but you want to make sure that that other part is actually straight and not slanty. I actually found that out now and I'm going to change it as soon as possible, as you can see me doing now. So I'm taping my paper down. As you can see, it is slanting. Take a look at it, it's slanting. That's not nice. I want it to be kind of on a straight line. So I had to redo this. I had to redo the tracing. Okay, I had to redo the tracing, thereby making it to be on a straight line like so. So I'm going to be tracing out the whole part where I marked T. I'm going to trace out all those parts and I've taped it onto my roll collar, my roll. Yeah, I'll just call this a collar, please flow with me. I'm going to call it a collar. And as you can see, if you let this relax, that very opening is going to close. And when you remove it, it's going to open up. Yes, that is the benefit of pattern drafting, because if you just let this be without opening up that place, you're going to be finding out that after sewing, that very particular part will be bulging. It's going to be bulging out on your dress. So do not worry, when we take out the main collar, we are going to be using a tape to tape this down and it's not going to show on our fabric. Okay? So heading over to the collar of the back piece, I'm going to be drafting out the collar of the back piece like so. As you know, we already measured 1.5 inch as the length of our collar, and for the width of our collar, sorry, and for the length of our back, and for the length of our back collar, we used 3.1 inch, which is actually the distance of our back neckline, if that makes sense, which yeah. So I'm going ahead to mark 3.1 inches and 1.5 inch like so, and I'll be taking this down, thereby forming a rectangle. I'll go ahead to cut this out like so. So having done this now, I'll go ahead to join this particular collar to the main collar of the bodice like so. I'll go ahead to join the back collar to the main collar of the bodice like so. The reason for that raw collar is you want that part to relax, just so the main collar could easily lap over and rest on your bodies without having any bulgy or any problem. Okay, that's the reason for that raw collar. It is very, very necessary. Okay, so I'm going ahead now to join this together to the raw collar and also join it to the main collar. Also, for the part where I said has an opening, that is that very part where the V neckline stops. Yes, we are going to be closing it up once we take away the raw collar, once we detach the main collar from the actual bodies. We are going to be taking it away, and thereby when we tape it down, that very opening is going to close. Okay, but if you do not do it this way and you just let it like that without drafting this very pattern, you find out that when you sew yours and you put it on, that very part is going to bulge. It's not going to relax. Okay, so that's the essence of this. This is what we have like so. Trying to through it to see what you see. The raw collar is going to be inside, whereas the collar is going to be on top of it. So we'll go ahead now to, for the dart, you're not going to be closing up any dart. Okay, this is a free dress, so you don't need to close up any dart. You're just going to cut like so on your fabric. And also for the back bodies, you want to make sure that the same for the armhole area, the little sleeve, whatever we did at the front, you want to make sure that it's same for the back. So I'm going to be throwing it with my back pattern to the front, making sure that I have these whole things aligned together. This is actually a very easy top. You can make this within 30 minutes and you're done. Okay? And it's very stylish. It's actually very stylish. I actually used a turtleneck, a black turtleneck, a long sleeve black turtleneck to pair mine before putting the top on top of it. And I'll be wearing it to church. So tell me how you're going to be wearing yours. Yeah? So I've gone ahead to through the back neckline like so, the back sleeve like so, and you want to also join this to meet the armhole of the back, which is what I've done now, and I'll be using my scissors to cut that out. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing for more beautiful tutorials coming up. Thank you for doing that. So I'll go ahead now to use my scissors to cut this out like so. And having done that, I'll go ahead again to through it, and since the sleeves are okay like the way they are, yes, and I'll go ahead to remove that also. Also for the back, you don't need to you don't need to sew in that. Okay. So for that opening, when you close it, you find out that it's going to be closing up to lap very well on the bodies. And that is what we want it. We want it to lap on the bodies. So do not worry about the opening, because we are going to be detaching the main collar from the roll collar, okay? So we'll go ahead now to detach the main collar from the roll collar. That was why I actually used different colors of paper, just so you don't get confused about it. So I'm going ahead now to detach the main collar from the roll collar. The main collar is the white paper with lines on it, like the one you used to write, whereas the roll collar is the brown paper, which is the actual pattern drafting paper. So I'm going ahead to detach it like so. I'm detaching up all the way to my neckline, to the back collar, sorry. I'm detaching up all the way to the back collar. You want to be careful with this so that you don't tear any of your patterns. So I've detached it, and this is what we are having like so. You want to mark your notches and label where necessary so you don't get confused when you're sewing. Mark every notch, whatever will help you remember where is the top, where is the bottom, especially on the main collar, so that you don't get confused. You also label where is the front, label the back, label where the V neckline stopped, where it started, everything necessary. So we've cut on our fabric. This is actually a satin fabric, and I'll go ahead to sew on the sewing machine like so. So I already made the lining for that very particular collar, for the particular main collar, and I'll be sewing to turn up the main collar just so it has a neat finish. I'm going to be starting up from my notch where I marked. That is where the neckline, the V neckline stopped. That was where I marked my notch. So I'm going to be starting from there to sew. Just so I'm in line with what I'm doing. So I'm also going to start from there to sew all the way up. And having done that, you want to turn it over and sew by the side, an outer stitch by the side. You want to turn over and sew an outer stitch by the side, making sure that your front is outwardly and the seam of your front, like the seams are inside, okay? For the front of it, for the front of the main collar, where it's going to be lapping on your bodies, you want to make sure that the seams are inside. And the front of it is actually, the front seam is actually covering that of the back. You want to make sure that it's neat, kind of is neat. That's all I'm just trying to explain now. You want to make sure that the outward part of it is neat. So you stitch down. Also, I also started from where my V neckline stopped, which is my notch, to also sew up and also sew down. You can, whatever your notch is, whatever is easier for you to remember and understand, you can start sewing from there. So we're going to be attaching this very piece to the bodice, okay? We are going to be attaching this very piece to the bodice, like so. Remember where your front is. You want to sew and make sure that when you sew, you can be able to overlap to the front, to turn over to the front. So starting from also that very particular point, I'll be sewing all the way down. So this is what you're going to be having when you're done sewing one side, and we're going to be doing the same thing to the other side of the front. So I haven't sewed the both side of the front. See how beautiful it is. We want to sew now to join both parts just exactly as we have at the top. Just exactly the one we are recreating. We want to stitch the down part together, okay? So that is what I'm doing now. You're trying to make sure that everything aligns and you're sewing just a little bit very close on both sides. Remember your roll collar. You don't want to use up the whole of a roll collar. Okay. And I'm sewing and stopping at that very part where my V neckline stops. Yes, like so. This is the back. And when I open to the front, this is what I'm having. Okay. So having done this now, we'll go ahead to, this is the back of it and this is the front of it. So we'll go over to the back. The back, I'm going to be joining the two center pieces together. The center of the back, I'm going to be joining them together, like so, all the way down. And you want to make sure that for the front, you're going to be joining the two collars together, like so. Your roll collar and your main collar, you want to join them together, like so. Making sure that everything possible aligns. I'll go ahead to join them together, like so. And as you can see, it has already formed. It's already formed, so we're going ahead now to join our back to it. So making sure that the center back and the center of the collar aligns, we are going to be sewing from there. And I'll be stopping where my back neckline stops. Same thing that I did to the right, I'll be doing to the left. And I'll be stopping where my back neckline stopped, like so. And having done that, we'll turn it over to see what we're having. So this is what we're having. I'll go ahead to sew up my shoulders. You want to start from the very tip of where you joined the back neckline and the collars together. Same thing we did to the other part, we're going to be doing to the same thing we did to the right, we're going to be doing to the front. Okay? Joining it together like so. And yes, that is what we are having. As you can see, this very beautiful top is easy to make. So we'll go ahead to stitch the sides of it. You want to start from where your armhole started. With your sewing allowance, you sew your sides and stitch your sides all the way down. So all the way down from your armhole, you want to stitch all the way down, like so.